Yo, yo, yo. This is Ricky Rod, and welcome to this week's episode of Welcome to the Bomb House. Before we get started, I wanted to thank everybody for all the listens and all the follows, all the likes, and all that good stuff. Please hit us with any more comments. We got some cool episodes coming up, and we're doing some different things. And one of those different things is bringing in a guest that's very technology-driven. Now, there's much more to Kevin than technology, as you find out in this episode. This is a guy that takes what he does seriously. He's a pastor, and you know what's cool about it? He pastors a different style of church that you would think would be in the studio, right? It's a more traditional church, and it's cool. He's a great guy, great family. We've shared many meals together, and in this episode, we're going to find about his history, his background, how he came to this area, and we're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about some things and where it's headed, and all that good stuff. Thank you. God bless. Peace out. Well, guess what? We're recording. This is going to make it on the podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Welcome to the Bomb House. Gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
Jimmy, how was your week?
Man,
wait, you went to a ball game, right?
I did. I went to Atlanta with my brothers and my dad.
I saw that.
Yeah.
You know, your brother was texting me all week about getting a song mixed by, like, Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah. He was like, hey, dude, like, can you have this song ready by, like, 2 days from now? I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time, man. We went down there and saw the new field and unfortunately suffered a loss due to a couple of dumb things.
Are they rebuilding, or are they supposed to be competitive? I'm not too sure.
Well, from what, and I don't know a lot about sports, you know this about me, but from what I heard Mike and Daniel talking about, this Braves team has what it takes.
Oh, cool.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Growing up here, you can't avoid the Atlanta Braves. So I was traveling out this week playing guitar, and I played my new John Mayer.
All right.
All week. And
a point of controversy from our last episode.
Yeah, Abraham Amador, my guitar tech and only Hispanic friend, he saved the guitar. He resurrected the guitar.
Yeah.
So you spend $2,500 on a really nice guitar, and it needed $100 worth of setup and work.
Yeah,
but it's pretty good to go now.
There's a nugget of wisdom right there. If you're going to buy any instrument, add another $100 or $200 on top.
It just came really bad,
and
he was able to really adjust the neck. So to be honest, it's great.
Yeah.
It's been good. So I'm almost ready for my YouTube review. But
this is the second time we've shouted out Abraham Amador.
I think he'd be a great guest. We may need an interpreter. Maybe bring his wife. I don't know. I'm just kidding. So enough about us.
Yes,
we have a very cool guest with us today.
Yes, we do. I'm excited.
I'm going to call you Pastor Kevin Purcell out of respect, because that's what you are.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. We met. I don't even remember how we met. How did we meet?
I think we met through Paul Culbertson.
Yes. Yeah, from Bridge 42.
Used to be pastor at Bridge 42, and believe it or not, it had nothing to do with being a pastor or a church or anything like that, or music. It was because you and he are both Mac fanatics.
Yes, we are.
And we were standing in line waiting for the second iPad over at the Best Buy.
I remember that.
And you were there.
And that's how we met.
And we just kind of hit it off and became good friends ever since.
It's been a while since the iPad 2.
Paul has flown the coop and no longer in the area. And yet you and I are still hanging out.
Yeah, I find that interesting.
Every once in a while we text each other. Hey, did you see the latest thing, from Apple or Chromebook or whatever?
Over the years, you've become one of my most trusted techie people. I do lean on you for a lot of information in the tech world.
And all the people who talk about his stuff not working, that's why.
But really though, you do every time I've seen you, I think I've seen you with multiple phones at the same time, right? How many phones do you have right now?
I've got the iPhone 10
Holy smokes.
And the Google Pixel XL2.
There we go. And I'm assuming the Google Pixel is like the latest and greatest Google product, Correct.
It's the most recent XL
Yes.
Pixel phone.
So
I wish our listeners could have just seen that.
He just
It's
pulled
like,
him out of
you're
his pocket.
talking about it. He's like, oh wait, right here.
He's got him.
Boom,
He's
boom.
he's
Here
got
they
him right
are.
there. So, okay, quick review right now. What are you liking about the Google Pixel?
Well, the screen size, it's a big, it's the mammoth screen.
Is it bigger than the 10?
They used to call it phablet. You tell me.
Oh my gosh! Look at that.
It's now the 10 is, bezel-less.
How does it hold though? Like, how does it hold? Like,
I have big hands. I have enormous hands. And
Okay.
so for me, it feels good. For someone with small hands, they obviously want, they want just the Pixel
okay,
2, not
Sure.
the Pixel XL 2. But for me, it's fine. I like it, and I'm not. I don't have any trouble doing that. My wife has an iPhone 6 Plus, 6S Plus.
okay.
No, now she has a 7. No, 6S Plus. I keep forgetting which one she
Yeah.
has. Anyway, and so she's, she was like, "Oh, that's too big" when I first gave it to her, but now she's okay with it. But
Yeah.
for some people, it's really hard to hold the big phone. But I really like it. I actually went ahead and put Android P on it, which is the latest beta version, and it's good. It's a little unstable, a little bit buggy, that sort of thing, but it's an interesting, different change. There's some things missing. On Android, you have to have a close all button, just because every once in a while things just kind of slow down, and and they didn't put that in the first 2 generations, and so anyway. That's the XL2.
And
of
that's
the two
just what's on
phones.
your person right now, right?
So
Well, that's the only phones I've got.
Just a warning to our audience. This episode, we're gonna get nerdy.
Yeah.
We're gonna get nerdy. We're gonna learn some things, I think, about you. But that's what I love about you.
The screen's beautiful.
See, I love this.
And the
He's so
camera
passionate about
is
this.
awesome.
I love this.
Best camera on a phone you can buy.
You hear that?
Easily.
It's not all Apple here, right?
No.
In fact, we're not even recording this podcast on a Apple product.
What?
Oh boy, that's a whole different hornet's nest. But all I'm going to say about Apple's approach to pro products, they are not pro friendly as a company anymore. People can argue with me all they want, but I'm sorry. I've been an Apple user since 1995, I think. And they're just not making professional products for the average dude anymore.
It looks like the calls are coming in already.
Oh boy, I'm sure I'll get the hate message, but this could be in a whole different podcast, to be
Tim
honest.
Cook
but
on line 5.
he's gonna be like, "No, we're gonna-" I do message them. I have messaged them over the years, and I've gotten some responses. But I did message them about their pro product line last year. I think they're on the West Coast. And they're surrounded by Hollywood. They're surrounded by these movie studios, and I don't think they really connect with the average guy on professional products. And I explained to them my situation. I'm like, listen, I'm on my own here. This is what I do. I depended on a Mac Pro for years.
Yeah.
And now you're making iMac Pros, which are the exact opposite of what a studio engineer needs. We need upgradability.
Yeah.
We need to future-proof ourselves a little bit, and they designed a machine the exact opposite of that, and
Apple,
supposedly they reached out to the pro community, by the way, and they said, we're working on a modular Mac Pro design, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
But so far, I mean, if that computer comes out, God knows when, I think it's going to be like $10,000, to be honest. Which, forget that.
Apple is a fashion company that makes tech products.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. I agree with that.
Hey, you're gonna see that as a quote.
I absolutely, I
Later on.
believe that. I do believe that. But
Yeah.
let's lay off the tech because I want to come back because there's some really specific things I want to hit on that. But so, what church do you pastor in the area?
I'm a pastor.
Yeah,
Church?
you're a
Yeah,
pastor.
no, High Peak Baptist Church. And technically we're in Valdez. We're kind of right in between Valdez and Drexel. We aren't in the city of each one, either one, in the boundary of each one.
So
we have a Valdez address. We're off
but it's near Drexel though, right?
Yeah, if you take 107 off of I-40, and that we're right near the.
And
you see our
Drexel
sign.
is super small. We're talking.
Oh yeah, tiny, and even more so. Before I ever came, I've been here a little over 11 years, and before I came, all the factories shut down and pretty much decimated that poor little town.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the history of that town because from what I remember, there was a Drexel Heritage Company had a
Furniture.
headquarters
Yes. Yeah.
office, and this downtown, y'all, like it's just maybe what, a block or two, maybe?
Yeah, it's not much.
It's literally you take a turn off at exit 107 and you can go straight through a very curvy road and go through the entire downtown of that area. And it got hit really hard. But it was hit hard before the economy did what it did in 2007 and 8, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I don't know exactly the history. Well, I came here in 2007, and I think Drexel was like one of the earliest places to get hit.
Now,
by
where
the
are you
economy.
from originally?
I grew up in Wisconsin, born in Iowa, but didn't live there long. Lived for a few years till I was about 7 in Illinois, but most of my formative growing up years was spent in Milwaukee.
So how did you find High Peak?
Well, that's a long, circuitous route. I went
He
to
uses such big words. I love it.
$3 for that.
I
one.
love it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, I went to a Southern Baptist church in Milwaukee, and
What?
in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
There's Southern Baptist churches in
all
Milwaukee?
over the place. Yeah.
Really?
And in fact, Northwest Baptist Church was the church, and it was one of the.
Wait a second. Wait. Milwaukee?
It's a Southern Baptist church called Northwest Baptist.
Wait a second. I'm trying to wrap my brain about this. When I think of Milwaukee, I think of beer and Laverne and Shirley, right?
Yeah. And Northwest Baptist Church.
Yeah, unfortunately, Laverne and Shirley, and the beer part, that's.
Is it true though? Is it? Wait.
Well, not a lot of beer is made there. The Miller, their headquarters is still there. But,
Okay.
You know, the Laverne and Shirley opening where you see the Schatz factory.
Yeah.
You know, that was a Schlitz factory when I was a kid, and Pillsbury bought it out, and I can't remember who has it now, but.
I just can't get over. There's a lot of Southern
it's even
Baptist
there.
churches in Milwaukee.
No, there aren't a lot.
There aren't a lot, but there was just
There
some.
is
and you grew
one.
Up. Yeah, there was
at
one.
least
there's,
one.
there's a handful.
All right.
But
Yeah.
You know how you say like Drexel has, Southern Baptist churches has Drexel Memorial and First Baptist of Drexel, and that's 2 in a town that we were talking about how tiny it is. Milwaukee, has over 500,000, about 1.5 million in the metro area.
wow.
Probably less than 10 Southern Baptist churches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Evangelical churches, there's a lot more than that, but believe it or not, it has been called the city of churches, but almost all of them are Catholic or Lutheran. There's a heavy German population, so there's a lot of
The
Lutherans.
Catholic. Yeah.
That makes sense.
up
Which
there
is
as
an
well.
older.
And
it's
in
much older.
Polish, there's a heavy Polish population on the south side, so there's a lot of.
So
lot
how
of
did
Catholic
you
churches.
find?
Okay, so
North Carolina.
I decided I wanted to go to I got called to the ministry as a very young boy. I was about 12 years old when I thought I was going to go be a missionary to Kenya. And then a little bit later, God kind of honed that calling into pastoral ministry and preaching. And my pastor was big about going to Baptist schools and said, you need to find one. And there was this big old form that the Southern Baptist Convention used to put out that listed them all. And I picked the one he went to and the ones closest to my town. And that was in Kentucky, where I met my wife,
Oh, cool.
who her parents
Now, what's the name of the
lived
school in
Cincinnati,
Kentucky?
Georgetown College.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
think I know.
And it's
Some people that have
tiny
graduated from there.
little liberal arts, emphasis on the word liberal, and went there, and then
I like that. That's funny.
and then went to. My wife was from Cincinnati, but her parents moved to High Point when we were dating.
So yeah, it's some North Carolina connections.
Well, through them,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
when I pastored a church, my first church was in Kentucky. Since we graduated there, and I was going to seminary at Louisville, Southern Seminary in Louisville, and then just felt interested in moving down here after visiting a number of times. And honestly, it was just kind of a God thing. It was a call from God, almost audible voice, not quite. I've never had that. I hear Christians talk about that, and if you have to have an audible voice to be a Christian, I'm not one, but I don't think that's true. I'm kidding.
it's usually at the churches that have like automatic modesty cloth throwers
Yeah, stuff like that.
ingrained in the altar.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever seen that,
People
but
who
I
have-
hold the patent.
People
So
who,
if you do pass out in the spirit, boom, it's like a spider web.
It's like
From the torso down, be modest, people. When the Holy Spirit gets you,
that's right.
it's like Spider-Man. Okay, sorry.
That's right. No, that's fine. We moved down here in '96 after I pastored for 3 years up there, and then we moved to '96, and we were in eastern part of the state while I was at southeastern. I transferred to Southeastern Seminary where I graduated in '98, and then in about 2000, I was a student at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary getting my
And
doctorate of
that's
ministry.
a lot of school.
Yeah, I did.
Like how many years of school?
Well, let's see. 13 for the typical.
That's
Got to
start-
get out of high school. 4
Yeah.
years for college. I crammed my 3 years of seminary into 5. So I was doing most of it part-time. That's why.
You were
And then-
working or you were in ministry at the same time?
Yeah, both. A
Wow.
lot of that time.
That's
and then,
killer.
Yeah.
And then I went back 2 years later after graduating with my Master of Divinity and got my Doctor of Ministry in preaching
so I need to
from
call you-
Gordon Conwell.
Do I call you like Dr. Pastor,
Well,
Pastor Doc?
Here's the thing. Pastor is fine. Preacher's fine. People ask
Around
me,
here,
should
you
I
preacher.
should I call you Reverend? And I think no human deserves that title. I don't know why that ever began.
Reverend.
That's great.
But
Yeah.
but my doctorate, I earned that one. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I got you. You can call- that's pretty cool, man. So, how did you find Hype Peak? Did they reach out to you, or was there like some kind of?
I just began to feel like the church I was at we were in Dallas, North Carolina. I went there in order to get closer to the Gordon Conwell campus in Charlotte. The main campus is in South Hamilton, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. But they had a Charlotte campus, and I went there to study with the guy. When you do your doctorate, you find the guy, and then you go study with him usually.
Wow.
And Haddon Robinson was the guy. He was named one of the 10 most influential preachers of the 20th century by Christianity Today.
Wow.
And so
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's who I wanted to work with, and so I worked with him. And he's now dead, but unfortunately, well, for him, fortunately, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so while I was down there, after about 7 years, not quite 7 years, I started feeling, I don't think this is kind of working like I hoped it would. It might be time to find something else. And so I just put out a few resumes here and there, and I still don't know, and they don't know where they got mine from. I
Really?
I didn't send it. So the last time I had done that, I blitzed the state and all the. Usually at Southern Baptists we have associations, which is like small little outposts, worth about 50 to 100 churches.
All right.
And what I did the last time is I just blitzed the whole state, every association, looking for a church because I knew it was time after I graduated with my master's degree. It's time to move on. But they don't think I never sent one to the association in this area, and so I think they might have gotten it from the state.
Oh.
Because I did.
And they
put
found
it
you
with
that
them,
way, and you
I
plugged in.
think, yeah. And
Man, that's cool.
It was kind of a God thing too, because they said that I was not their first choice, but they all kept coming back to my resume after they would talk to someone and it didn't work out, and they'd always come back to mine, and then they'd talk to someone else and it didn't work out.
So
they'd
you've been
come
here.
back to
You've
mine.
been here over 10 years. Your family.
Yeah, 11 and a half.
How many kids do you have?
2,
Both boys. I know.
both boys.
We talk a lot of video games.
Yeah,
with your guys.
they're big video game players.
I like them because they're not afraid to debate with me,
Oh no,
and I like that. I've noticed that with you guys.
Yeah,
I dig that. Is
they'll,
that just an environment you foster a little bit, or is it just?
Well, they get it. They get it naturally by that's somewhat my personality, my dad's personality, my father-in-law's personality. They're willing to debate an onion. So
I like that. I really do. I find that to be strangely comforting when I'm talking to people and they kick back a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because I think we miss that sometimes. I think with social networking, it's almost gone.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of discussion, the idea of just, debating ideas.
Like iron sharpening iron.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
it is.
Miss that.
But I like your dudes. Every time I run into them, we're always talking about video games.
Yeah, I'm real proud of them. They're both in school, so we're putting 2 through college right now. Michael wants to be a chaplain in the Army.
Wow,
That's rad.
And Daniel is on the tech side. He wants to do video production. He's going to be a video producer for
for the
Centrifuge.
summer. Yeah, for the summer. That's great.
So your kids are
Lifewood.
named Michael and Daniel.
Michael and Daniel. Michael's
Wow.
the oldest.
Well.
Daniel's the
That's
youngest.
Michael and Michael and Daniel are my brothers, and
Really?
I'm the oldest one. So
Okay.
you
That's
have
cool, man.
You have basically my family minus me.
Yeah.
So Pastor, Doctor, Reverend, not Reverend Kevin. So let's talk about living in this area specifically, because I think when we've had a few pastors on, but from this area, it's a little bit different. I think, right? So what did you find challenging at first? Was there anything when you guys moved here you're like, whoa, okay, like because you're not from around here. People know that, right? And it's I want to know what challenges you faced early on. It doesn't have to be specifically at the church, but for whatever, anything related to that, any kind of challenges.
Well, I think, growing up in the North, in the Midwest, my wife's from Cincinnati, which is sort of on the border, but I'm from the upper Midwest. And, that was sort of in my background, my mentality growing up. But before coming here, I spent almost 3 years in the middle of nowhere in northern Kentucky.
It was super rural.
Yeah, to go get a gallon of milk, it was a half-hour round trip.
Oh Lord!
Just to get a gallon of milk, we didn't have anything. So when we moved to a town called Delway, which doesn't have a post office, out in the middle of nowhere in Sampson County. Now it wasn't quite as
rural,
out in the middle of nowhere, but still it was very rural. And so I had been in rural for about 6 to 7 years before coming west. We were in central, just outside of Charlotte and Dallas, which is near Gastonia. Mm-hmm. And I had spent almost 7 years there. That's a little more of like a suburban kind of thing.
Yes.
But so coming here, it was, it was in between what we had been in at the beginning of my ministry.
And there wasn't much culture shock. It wasn't much.
Well, a little bit, because every time you go to a new place, it's a little bit of culture shock. But we had already sort of, I don't know what the right terminology for it is, but the shock of going from, city kids to out in the middle. One day we woke up at our church in Kentucky and the farmer from across the street had cows and there was one munching our yard, I mean, we went from that to, slightly less than that to a lot less than that and more of a suburban. And so it kind of felt like it was in the middle. The thing that I like here is it's quiet, it's safe for the most part,
yes,
and it's also close enough to the stuff that
I
was used to.
Yeah.
Hickory's not a bad little town to get not down the road to. Around here, people think little. That's not, but for my mentality, it is little.
It is.
Yeah.
So you can get to stuff, and we go to Greensboro and High Point area because that's where my in-laws live, and we go there about once every 2 or 3 months and hang out there and.
So we're going to bring up a subject. This will be the last thing we talk about the church because I want to get into some tech stuff. But I wanted, a lot of the pastors that I'm friends with tend to pastor more in modern churches, right? And it's not because of it. Just I think it's because of my music background.
Sure.
I have a lot of friendships with worship pastors and musicians and pastors that are interested in that. But you specifically, me and you originally just connected on technology at first, and then I think over the years we've just developed a friendship. And you would look at us and think we have very different backgrounds, right? And let's talk about your church specifically. Is it more traditional? Is the worship experience more traditional at High Peak Baptist?
Yeah, definitely, especially compared to what people who know you and your background and what you're in right now, and it's far more traditional than that. We have, I've got, when I'm a tech guy, so I brought some tech into it. We've got the screens, and we don't open up the hymn book anymore, that kind of thing. But we
that
still
couldn't have been easy at first, though.
No,
right?
It really wasn't hard at all because they kind of knew who I was coming in.
They were cool
I
with
sort of
that.
made that clear coming in. If you're calling me as your pastor, you're also calling to put in this stuff because my doctorate of ministry was in preaching expository messages with multimedia. That was my whole
That's
topic.
how you do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so they knew that about me, that this was what it was. And they were kind of excited. And I think sometimes they maybe thought that would be like the magic trick that would totally turn around the church and it would suddenly start to grow because of that. And that never has happened, I don't think, in the history of church. It's always about the relationships.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we're very traditional as far as the style of music. We've got a piano and an organ. It's not, I was doing the finger quotes. It's actually a keyboard because their organ died and they used to have money in the organ fund, and we just recently took it out because we're never buying an organ because they're too expensive.
Yeah.
And this thing
They
has
are very
the sound of an organ. It sounds okay. So
I got you.
So it's just a keyboard. We don't have anybody who can play an organ with the foot pedals anymore. Maybe Reba can. I don't know.
But as far as meeting the needs of the community, you said it's the most. You said the relationships is really the most important thing. I don't really care about the style. I think good leadership
Yeah.
precedes all of that stuff.
I think you're right. The thing about the style of worship, I think that has become an idol.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yes,
You're
Of
right.
the worship wars were kind of fought in the 90s and early 2000s
and that one's over.
in most area, and that's kind of over because I think people have realized that we blew that way out of proportion.
You're right.
However, in my church, if I brought in Ricky to play guitar and someone to play drums, and we had a bass, and
Yeah.
that'd raise some eyebrow. People, oh, we're just doing this for Youth Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And but I think they might get used to it after a while. We just don't have that talent. It's not present or available to us at this time.
Right.
We're not likely to go pay for it. So if it doesn't come up naturally, we're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I believe God supplies you with what He wants you to have
And you're
to
just
do
not
what
there
you're
yet.
going to
You're
do.
just
And
not there yet.
we're not there yet. Maybe we'll never be. Understand this. The baby boomers are the largest generation in America,
That age group.
and
What is
they're
that age group right now?
in their upper 50s into their 70s.
Yes. Okay.
60s, like in that age group. So that age group is the largest group, and there aren't a whole lot of people saying we need to go evangelistically reach them. They're all trying to reach my generation. I'm 48 and younger. That's what all the churches want to change to reach.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but in America, that's tough sledding.
Yeah.
And so I think the superficial part of it is, if you have a good band,
So what about
and a cool preacher. But I'm reading stuff that young people are kind of saying, those cool preachers in their jeans. They kind of look at them like, he's trying too hard.
what do you think about church?
Yeah,
Well,
you're right. You're right.
I think young people can see through a lot of the fake stuff.
They want genuineness.
Yeah. And I don't, and just from my experience, because I'm around, I'm the old guy in the worship team, and I'm with young people on that team, and I don't know, I am who I am. I can't change myself, and I've never had an issue relating with young people. In fact, I think I'm maybe more comfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
Because there's less BS. I feel like, but going back to your situation and just church, like membership in general, how does that look now in the United States? Like people actually attending church, like attendance wise, is it down? Is it up?
Oh, it's down definitely because church isn't that important to people. Organized religion isn't as important, and genuineness is at an all-time low in the not modern like worships, but today's church.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but even
it's
the
okay.
modern church
Be candid.
that's rock and roll church, a lot of that's pretty superficial.
Well, it's the production is
It's
ridiculous,
all about
and I
the
think
show.
Yeah.
Instead of and I'm not going to name any names, but I could talk about people, and I would probably anger some of.
Don't worry, my dad does it almost daily when I talk to him. It's okay.
I just don't believe in criticizing publicly pastors. I just don't think that's a good
I
idea.
do appreciate that because a lot of people online don't share that same.
That's
But I think-
absolutely true.
I think that we need to do more to just love and care about people. And one of the things that I love about my church is we don't excel at reaching new young people just because of a superficial reason. But once a person comes into the fellowship of High Peak Baptist Church, if you've got a problem, you're going to get loved on
See, that's
through
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I can tell you about. I'll tell you about one lady in our church. She may not want people to know her name, so I'll just call her that lady.
The anonymous lady.
She's an elderly lady. She has cancer, and I guarantee you that she, her husband, and her son and daughter-in-law never come to church without people. Number one, how is she doing? Number two, is there anything we can do for her or for you? And number three, tell her we love her and we're praying for her. If they've ever come to church and that hasn't happened, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
And that's the
Awesome.
kind of
That's
thing
great.
that happens at a small, we had, I think, about 90 or so in church Sunday for worship. And that's the way it always is.
I think Dr. Pastor Reverend Kevin. I have run into my idea of what church should be is definitely, I mean, it's not, I can just draw back to personal stories. I think early on, when I was younger, I would purposely seek out the more modern churches, right? And then we got involved into some ministries that we thought, leadership wise were healthy, right? And we realized it was not.
Yeah.
Right. We realized it was not. All the modern stuff at that time, the music was edgy, all that stuff. Right. We were hosting concerts and all sorts of neat things, and I think we were a little disillusioned maybe with it. And after going through that situation, we actually left that situation and went to a much more traditional style worship service, a local church in our area. I don't want to name any names, but we needed that disconnect from that such a negative situation me and my wife did in our family, and to go to a place that didn't have all the crazy stuff. Now, right. I'm not saying it was bad or it was good. To be honest, it was more about the leadership and how not positive it was for us. I mean, we were there were families that didn't talk to us for years, because we weren't there, and in the community. And did it hurt us? Sure. We learned from it. And I think one of the major things we've learned is that I don't care about the glitz. I think families need to find the place where they're comfortable. It doesn't need to be, if you prefer your worship to be at 105 decibels, go for it. Rock it.
Yeah.
Find your place.
Yeah.
If you want a more intimate church where maybe it's more acoustic, go there. Yeah. That's the beauty of this country. We don't have to have one style of worship here. And I think people get tied up just like they do with their sports. Yeah. How crazy I am about the Dolphins is all about the Dolphins. Well, no, it's not.
What do they play?
Exactly. I'm not sure what they play. Sometimes they call it football, but whatever. I call it giving the ball to the other team a lot. But sorry. But
they don't have a quarterback this year, do they?
Well,
I'm kidding.
A twice injured quarterback who we're putting all our hopes on for this year doesn't look very good.
My
But
father-in-law, for some reason, is a Dolphins fan,
He's a
so
good
I
man.
love joking about
he's
it.
a good man.
I bet.
I can take it. I have a thick skin. But going back to we have choices, right? We have choices, and I think churches in a town like this, in a smaller area, can develop reputations. You can, and sometimes that's not always positive. So,
and we find people all the time throwing the baby out with the bathwater, one way or the other, and we've all been there. We've got our stereotypes in our heads, and a lot of times I think it really is a balance game. You can have people who they just worship a certain type of worship service.
it's crazy.
Or,
yes,
like you're saying, you've got a group of people who will rally around somebody who's in a dire strait, and they'll love on them. And I think that's where that genuine thing comes in. You can tell what a church is really trying to accomplish by the way they interact, because genuine people, whether they're nice or not, if they're genuinely not nice, they genuinely aren't going to ask about someone else. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
I just think from an encouragement standpoint, I think, you're serving the needs of your community, and that should be absolutely the first thing you do. Mm-hmm. And the last thing you need to worry about is bringing me in to play guitar or whatever the crap you want.
That's the technical stuff.
Like it's like I don't think I mean, when I'm off on weekends, and I don't take a lot of weekends off because I just enjoy the grind of it. But when I do, there are Sundays that I just prefer to either chill out online and watch stuff. I'll watch other preachers, or I'll visit a different place. And I like to do that on purpose. I think it's a good thing, and I want to encourage you that's awesome that you're doing that, and mm-hmm. I think it's cool. And what's funny is, like, even through over the years, even though we may come from different backgrounds, I've never felt an issue ever with that,
Yeah.
and I won't, so, and I think, generationally though, I will say, going back to music and styles of church, like, it's like what you said about worship music wars, we're like into the third generation now.
Yeah.
and it's funny as I see churches doing, I quote unquote modern music, but it's like 10-year-old modern music, like what modern music was 10 years,
Yeah.
10 years ago.
To illustrate that, I remember back
I don't know what to call that, but that is weird.
when I was back in college in north central Kentucky, in the late 80s. We went to a church. It was just down the road from us, and they had a music director who was, at that time he was like 75 years old or something like that. And he would get up, and you always knew he was either going to do an old traditional, which usually meant like a hymn, as the special music that day, or he was going to do what he called, here's a new one that the young people will love. And it was from like the early 70s or late 60s or something
great.
like that.
That's great.
We'd all kind of look at each other like, this
What
is
the
not
heck?
for us. But thank you for trying.
That's great, though. That's
Yeah.
cool. Well, all right, so let's get to the nerdy part of this podcast. So, because we touched on your multiple cell phone situation going on.
That was
but
just a taste.
That literally, it really is just a taste. It really just is a taste. So, I do follow you on Twitter and Facebook, but I prefer Twitter. But, so there's some Bible software you always tweet about. And don't you have a podcast about it?
Well, I do a thing called the Theotech podcast, which is really now more, it's less of a download the audio, but more of a go watch it on either YouTube or Facebook.
All right.
We do more of the video now, and we've sort of transitioned more into like tutorials and help about how to use Bible software or other church
Is
technology.
there any specific
related.
software, or is it just
whatever's
out there?
Very general. Like right now, I'm right now working on a series through how to preach, how to prepare sermons using Logos Bible software. The company
That's
itself,
the one you tweet, yeah.
Yeah, the company
Logos.
itself calls it Logos, and that's because they don't know how to use the word. It's based on a Greek word.
Today's episode brought to you
He
by
is correcting
Logos.
Logos logo.
Yeah. It's based on a Greek word that has two omicrons in it, which is a small O sound, not omegas, which is the long O sound in
Yeah,
Greek.
come on now.
So
Come on now.
This is great.
Give me some of that.
Logos, not logos, which is what they say. But that's
So you're
because-
helping them out by doing
No,
these tutorials.
they don't like me very well because
Really?
I'm too critical of their software. So
That's okay.
Just
the owner
start
of the
with
company, he's
I
not
totally
a
ticked
fan
off
of
a
mine.
streamer today on Destiny. I was totally joking, and he banned me. First
Well,
time I've ever been banned in a stream. It was funny.
My thing of pride is that I'm probably one of the few people that have had a CEO of a company call him up because of what he said in his article or his podcast about their software, and he not only did it once but 3 times on the same issue.
Well, listen, the company
man.
who makes my recording software, Avid, I've been very public with my opinions about them and what they need to fix, and most of the time they've responded relatively positive, but not all the time. They're just software companies now. Some of them just do what they want.
Yeah.
Just do what they want,
Yeah.
and then they let us deal with the bugs, and it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good if you depend on it. Yeah. But so let's get back to technology. Is there anything right now, like for instance, you turned me on to Chromebooks a couple of years back, which like I don't know how to explain Chromebooks. If you have any kids at school, I know Google has a lot of Chromebooks in our schools, and I know my wife uses them. She actually prefers them to the MacBooks.
I know that this changed your life because this happened. I think we all ate lunch together at the time.
Those
you were
Chromebooks are
doing
great.
that.
Yeah, Chromebooks are great because I don't use. Well, I'm in front of a computer all day. I don't want to go home and then use a laptop. Or, I usually, most of my online stuff, I either use my phone or an iPad at the time. But you had a Chromebook at the time, I think I got from you. And the Chromebook was one of the coolest things. I still use it.
Is that little HP that?
Yeah, man, it's great.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
great. And it is that sort of, it was a gateway into realizing I don't need a $2,500 Mac Pro to check things on the internet,
Yeah.
or check things on Dropbox, or I use an app to move my weapons around on Destiny, stuff like that. But
Well, like the worship wars, there's the software, the operating system wars, and then there's the Mac versus PC.
it's a huge war. Yeah.
Versus Chromebook, and of course, most of the Mac PC people go, "Oh, Chromebook, that's that toy that they use in school."
It's great.
But they don't understand that what it is. It's just simple. It's
Yes.
dirt simple.
Yeah.
How long? I mean, this is going to be really geeky, but if you needed to reformat your computer because you were having problems with it,
I don't even want to know.
you'd have to. It takes me on my Windows computer or my Mac computer. It takes me like 2 days to reformat it and then reinstall everything and then go through all the settings and get it all set back up the way I need it to. And some people say, well, why don't you just image the drive? And that's silly. I don't like doing that. Chromebook, 20 minutes, you're done.
It is what,
Wow.
and what's happening here is because when you go to a Best Buy or whatever, they've got huge PC sections, mainly laptops, right? The towers are hidden. They got the little Apple section, and then the smallest section are the Chromebooks. Okay, it is. They're lucky if they get a little space for to put four
Yeah.
of them out. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's almost like they're the bastard child of computers, but
They are, yeah.
but to be honest, they're probably one of the best user experiences I've ever had, because I don't need it. I'm not going to use I'm not video editing on it. I've gotten to the point now that if I want to do any heavy editing, I'm just going to get a tower. Or my Mac Mini loaded with whatever and go to work. But what trends do you see happening this year because I feel like laptops get skinnier and lighter. That's it. I don't see any innovation. I haven't seen innovation with a laptop. I mean, Apple's putting squiggle strips, whatever that is. The glass, the thing, what is that? I don't even know what it's called, but you can.
Oh, the touch bar?
Yeah, the
along
touch bar.
The top of the keyboard.
What? What is that?
That's called they're just too stupid to realize people want a touch screen.
Because there's no
we
touch
kind of
screen.
need something like that. But,
There's no touchscreen on a MacBook at all.
and it's just so stupid. I mean, all the Windows and Chromebooks are going that way.
That's so
Why
funny.
can't you do it?
They
I
won't.
don't know.
They
I
don't
can
want
tell
to.
you
They don't.
this,
They won't.
and I would never make my wife like she's not an amazingly intelligent woman, because she is. But several times on my laptop, she's tried to touch the screen.
Well,
I do it
and
all the time.
my little girl does it to our TV. Just automatically.
I think the iPhone, right, has got us programmed to touch the glass, right?
Yeah.
The iPad was first, supposedly. That was the first thing that came. Uh-oh. Hold on.
Uh-oh, technical difficulties.
Beep, beep, beep,
Somebody's
beep,
not
beep.
happy with
It did
Ricky
that
right
earlier.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But anyway, back to the touchscreen thing. I feel like we get trained
yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
And they have touchscreen interfaces for my Pro Tools system. It's a whole screen that I can just. But I don't like working that way personally. That wouldn't be a workflow I would use. But pretty much, I'm fine with that.
I don't think for someone who's doing something as detailed and technical as you're doing with what your job, I don't know. I don't like it either. Like when I'm making a video, I open up Adobe Premiere right now. That's probably going to shift soon, but anyway, I do that now, and I want a mouse,
Right.
in order to work with that and get intricate stuff. But the thing about what's coming, you said the trends and stuff like that. I don't know as much about that, and here's my reason. I was heavily into this stuff for about 7.5 years. When I worked, I did on the side while pastoring in order to get some spending money and then some college money for the kids. I worked for a company called GottaBeMobile.com and Notebooks.com.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I gave that up about a year ago, but just because I was getting annoyed by it. It was just getting too much.
Yeah.
I was spending more time than I should have. And so as I started to pull back, they noticed that I was pulling back, and they said, you're not really worth what we're paying you anymore. And so I said, well, then maybe I should just give it up. So after about 5 months after, they cut I was getting a monthly, pay from them, and they cut that in half, a little bit more than half. Of course, they were hurting too a little bit. They went from 6 writers when I was there to they're down to 3. But and thank you, Google.
But you did blogs. I remember I read them.
But yeah.
Actually, I read off of that site before you even told me.
Yeah,
you did
I wrote about 8 to 10 a week.
Yeah, I read
a
those
month,
reviews.
rather a month at the end for them.
Yeah, I read those reviews.
And so I was really, checking everything and so I've kind of scaled back. I'm not the greatest source on the latest, greatest anymore. But I think the thing that is, you were talking about Chromebooks, if you have an Android phone, you can put Android apps on most Chromebooks now. That's something that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's unique.
You can do a lot more with it. It also makes them more complicated. On the Windows side, they're getting away from Windows as the center of their Microsoft's operating system, and they're starting to become generic. Look, we can do it on Windows, we can do it on Mac, we can do it on iOS, we can do it on Android.
A lot of people don't realize, for our audience, software and OS companies are different. The OS, the operating system, is what you're running your Windows or your Mac OS or your Android off of. And then you got software. And what's happening in the business is they figured out they want everything working on every platform possible. Like if you're creating an app, if we create a Roadie Man app, you want that app to work on every...
I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah, you want every platform to work, though, right? You don't want it just on Apple anymore, and you want it.
Well, from somebody who is not tech savvy, okay, what is the advantage to Windows making it available on everything?
Well, it gives them more of a user base. That's it. They want as many people
just swallowing up people.
Yes. The idea of creating software, losing money just to get users or viewers, that's a huge popular business model now.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, and it's a good way for a software company to stay relevant. If they're only going to work on a Windows computer, they're hurting themselves, because Apple sells a boatload of laptops. They want, what's funny is my dad owns iMacs at his house, and they've all got Windows 10 on them. Because he just doesn't like the Mac OS, but he loves the hardware, right?
Yeah.
But, I can talk about Pro Tools because I've been around Pro Tools for years, a long time, and they used to just be an Apple software.
Right.
And that was it, okay? And then over the years... when they moved to Windows, they were, everybody started making a big deal. Oh, Pro Tools is on Windows, blah, 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 blah. And quietly, they have created a multi-platform situation for themselves.
Same with Adobe.
Yes. Adobe is another company. A friend of mine who's a photographer prefers to edit on a Dell laptop. A photographer.
Wow.
Okay, because it doesn't matter. You can get Adobe... all the software either on a Windows machine, Apple machine now.
Yeah,
I think they have cloud apps too.
And once you click the icon to open up the program, it's not a whole lot different between the Windows and the Mac side.
I was told there was hardly any difference.
Yeah,
I ask a lot of people about that.
I have Premiere for video, which I don't need it, but I've got it. And then I've got Photoshop and Lightroom, for photos.
I call it platform agnostic.
Yeah,
is what I call it. I call it platform agnostic. So,
and that's kind of who I am. I mean, I've been very critical of Apple because that's just, we've been talking about Apple. But if you want to talk about Windows, I can get just as critical.
Yeah,
of them.
they're both. They're both my problem has come with just in general, like, innovation, like how fast innovation. We saw so much innovation with phones for the first couple of years, and now everything has slowed down. A lot of it has slowed down. Apple has been forced to slow down because of Intel, the people that make the processors, right? Like, our laptops are getting skinnier, they're getting thinner, but they haven't upgraded the professional line chips in years until the iMac Pro came out. But prior to then, I think the last refresh was like 2000 and I don't even remember. It was over 10 years ago.
But the problem with that, you mentioned a minute ago, modular, where you can like swap out, like you need to be able to swap out parts of the computer if you're a professional.
Yes.
And an iMac, you can't do that. It's impossible. Nearly.
Now it's impossible. It used to not be. In other words, if you wanted to upgrade the RAM or upgrade certain pieces, all you had to do was, it had a little door in the back. You could unscrew it install RAM. It took like 5 minutes.
Right.
But now they glue and solder everything to the motherboard.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Everything. It's you. That's it. Once you buy that iMac, that's done.
But I believe that if Apple had their way, they would wave a magic wand and everybody would be on an iOS device of some kind, and they'd say,
Yes.
This Mac thing, that was nice. It got us in the business. But, we're done
Well,
with
I mean,
that.
they've moved the messages to the OS.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing. When I upgraded my studio, my last Mac Pro, and to the whatever the latest OS was, which was a nightmare to get it to work with my audio software. When I upgraded, I was getting all my messages from my phone on my computer while I was trying to edit.
Right.
And I was like,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
Like, it was horrible.
You got a
Yes.
funny situation when if you're all Mac and you've got an iPhone and an iPad and you've got a MacBook for your laptop, and then you've got an iMac or a Mac Mini for your computer, and every one of them goes off every time you get a message.
And I'm not saying it's not inconvenient. It is convenient,
Sure.
in
At times.
certain cases. Like I was dragging and dropping files and sending them to friends, but half of the time it wouldn't work. And this was recent. This was up until the end of last year. And then when I switched over, I switched totally to the PC world. I had somebody that custom built me a system, and he held my hand through all of it.
Oh, that was sweet.
So I have, he needed to, because I was really scared about doing this, because I'm very familiar with the Mac OS, and if anything ever happens, I know exactly where to go, what to do, and all the little weird things that Apple OS does, right?
Yeah.
But
See, I went the opposite direction. I was all Windows
And then you
kind
went
of a
to
Mac
Mac.
hater, but then when I started working for that company, they bought me a MacBook Air, the second generation, and
I like
for
the MacBook Air.
For the first month, I hated it.
What,
I mean,
what did you
oh,
what
I
did
was-
you not like about it?
Because I could do everything on Windows second nature without thinking about it.
Oh,
And
okay,
suddenly I
okay.
had to change. I mean, even the little things like on a Mac, you close stuff by clicking in the upper left corner, but on
Yeah.
Windows, you
Oh.
close stuff
Yeah.
from
See,
clicking in the upper
that
right
stuff,
corner.
Yep.
That stuff
Just
doesn't
little
bother
things
me,
like
but
that.
But what I've noticed with Windows machines, though, and this may be my ignorance, but I find I can customize almost anything I want on a Windows machine.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's always consistent machine to machine. I've noticed with certain PC laptops, like I'm able to adjust certain mouse settings. And when I asked a friend of mine about it, he was like, well, it depends on the drivers they're using.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, can you fix that? He was just like, well, it's a lot of trouble. And I'm like, well, I won't buy a Windows machine if I can't adjust certain parameters on, the mouse. I basically make it like a MacBook. Is what I do. I do, the little gestures and stuff.
Yeah, it's about half of the settings. No, maybe I don't know if it's half. I don't know what percentage. Some of the settings will go from computer to computer. Others, like he said, it's dependent upon the hardware.
See, that's the only thing. I see inconsistencies, I think, on those sides.
Well, but see, Apple makes every one of the computers that runs Mac OS, except for those who are, kind of pirating. Not pirating, that's not the right term for it, but they're kind of hacking things.
You know what my dream...
They call it a Hackintosh, in fact.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of studio engineers that are building Hackintoshes for that reason. I thought about pursuing that, by the way, before I switched to Windows, but I talked to a bunch of friends of mine in Nashville, guys that do it professionally, and the guys that had the Windows machines were really happy.
Yeah.
And I kept on asking, it took me a year. It took me a long time. I put a lot of thought into it before I decided to do it. Turned out to be the most seamless transition I've ever made in any computer system. I was up and running the same day. The only thing that took forever was I had 7 terabytes of Pro Tools sessions I had to copy. Ooh. And it took me all week. We're talking 3 nights in a row. I was getting up, making sure my transfers were going. But I don't regret it. Are there issues? On Windows OS, sure, little stupid stuff happens, but it's not. So far, I've had a few driver issues with my USB keyboards and things, which is a Pro Tools issue.
Yeah.
Because Windows wants to automatically update that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? I found out where to go to find the conflict, and I fixed it myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a very good situation for me.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. I still think if I had to take a mobile studio system out right? I would prefer to stay on Mac because I found that the MacBook Pros are just more consistent with their ports, and it feels like recording manufacturers are making things that are more consistent on that platform. Because on a PC, you buy a PC laptop that's not Microsoft, it's hugely inconsistent. I found, just finding gaming PCs, I noticed that the ports weren't even the same. It was crazy. And I in the recording world, I need the same USB 3 connection. I need everything to be a certain way.
Yeah.
But, I think the future of software, though, is, I'm scared because I do think Mac Pros and those kind of lines are going to get phased out eventually. I just don't.
They keep promising, no, we're never going to do that.
I don't believe that.
Steve Jobs also said, if you think you need a stylus, you're doing it wrong.
And then they do the pencil.
And then they made the best stylus you can get in the Apple Pencils.
But if I had a dream Apple machine, I would love for them to, for me, for a professional, I don't need a crazy graphics card for what I do. I just need a workhorse with upgradable RAM and hard drive space. If they can just make a Mac Mini Pro that I'm willing to pay $2,500 for it, or $3,000. I don't care. If I knew I could tweak the hard drive in it, because Intel makes a system called the Intel NUC. Have you seen the Intel NUC?
Yep.
Dude, it's like this big. Right? It's about the size of...
For those of you millennials, it's about the size of a Sega Game Gear.
Yeah.
It's an oversized Apple TV if you've got one of those.
Yes.
Or a Roku box.
But you basically get it, and you have to add SSD drive, and you add the RAM. It's like a kit you build.
Sure.
But you can get them all already put together,
and it is
on Amazon.
Extremely powerful machine. We're talking super powerful machine. You can get them with
Core i7s.
Yes, Core, and the new chips, I think, too. And I know people putting Mac OSs on them, which is crazy.
Uh-oh.
But these are machines that are super powerful for about $1,500 that would compete with any Mac Pro right now. Probably out benchmark the latest, the 12-core Mac Pro.
A lot of people are using those for TV boxes. You hook it up to your television set, and they don't put all the high-end guts in it. They more keep the mediocre stuff, but then they just put a bigger drive in it, and then they use it to watch stuff
Their
online,
TV.
and that's a nice way. Now Windows doesn't do a sit back interface.
But what do you think about? What do you think about how TV, how these devices have changed the way we watch TV? Personally, I'm super disappointed with how we have to watch TV on any platform. It drives me crazy.
I hate it.
It has become, it's so convoluted to try to watch something. I don't care what it is. It could be a Roku, Apple TV. Basically, you have 1,000 apps.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I got to remember my login for Hulu, Netflix, NBC, blah, blah, blah. Every one of them. It has been, that was not the future of television online I was thinking we were going to have.
They broke it. What's going on there, I think, is the executives in the TV companies. They're saying, look, we know this is where it's going, but not on my watch.
Well, I think they watched what happened to the music industry because the MP3, the MP3
or books with Amazon.
There was a dude. What's true story? There was a dude in, I think, Shelby, North Carolina. There used to be a CD manufacturing company there. Okay, and they made video games and CDs. There was a dude there that was uploading everything that they were pressing there to the internet and
Napster.
started and kicked it off. That guy got arrested by the FBI and can never touch a computer again, a network computer again. But it came out of North Carolina. This guy was uploading, and that was the end. That was the beginning of the end.
It's another reason to live here in North Carolina.
We
breaking laws.
We broke the laws, but so I think TV, the movie industry saw that, flipped out, because by the time Apple and Steve Jobs got to the music industry had no choices at all. They had no choice but to say, okay, it's $1 a song. You got it, and they took it, and that was it. But with the movie and the TV world now, I think I'm not sure it's ever going to be great, to be honest. I mean, DirecTV, trying the streaming platform, it's not solid. I've tried it. Sony has the Sony View, which if you have a PS4 and you can download the app, it's not solid either. In fact, we tried to watch a college national football game last year, whatever one of the big bowls, and I was trying to use my Apple TV and the ESPN app. It was hot garbage. Yeah. It did not work because there were so many people trying to watch the show. Yeah. There was a huge UFC event last year, and they got the UFC app, right? You get the UFC app, you pay for what you want to watch, and then the Joker doesn't work. It crashes because everybody's trying to log on to watch it, and it's not good. People are trying to save money by doing that, and what it's doing, it's hurting it. And to be honest, the only positive things I've seen from it have been maybe Netflix. Netflix is an interesting company because they're spending a ton of money on content, and they're not really caring about profit right now. They're sort of doing what Amazon did early on. Amazon
former president just signed a deal with them today.
Yeah, and Amazon. Yeah, but Amazon.
If you want to watch that, I don't.
Well, it was. I promise you, it was a huge deal. Yeah. Because they're just trying to get exclusive content. That's what it is. HBO,
and they're killing it.
HBO used to be the number one source for exclusive content. They had The Sopranos, they had a show called The Wire, then eventually Game of Thrones, which has been their biggest hit to date.
It seems more now like HBO has exclusive content at times.
Yes, no, not anymore because Netflix has become now where I can watch The Crown, and there's so many shows me and my wife love watching on Netflix that I would give up my HBO subscription and keep my Netflix in a heartbeat. Yeah. And when Hulu first started, I wasn't too impressed at all. But I've been using it again. There's been a few shows we've been watching. I think, it's that Star Trek knockoff with Seth MacFarlane.
The Orville.
Gosh, I love that.
The Orville.
Great show.
That is a great show.
Great show.
But that was my first time back to Hulu since the beginning. I thought the first version of Hulu was hot trash too. Yeah. But the app's better, right? Yeah. The app's better. It's still not perfect.
I would venture to say that this is probably why most people are moving that way, because even if the streaming isn't working the way that it ought to for futuristic television viewing, the app use and the actual, it's a beautiful setup.
It's gotta work.
I've got a Roku, and I love the way it looks and the way it works. That little remote is killer.
But it has to be that way.
Yeah.
That was another thing. I think, the whole, that's one thing we got really used to on the iPhone at first, because people forget the first iPhone, the notepad looked like a notepad and the calendar looked like a calendar in real life, right? And then when the design started changing, I think Google did it first. The Google calendar didn't look like a desktop calendar, like you would have on your desk. Sorry, not a desktop, but a desk calendar. They started changing the design. Apple did the same thing. That was a big
YouTube used to be an old TV.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And then, so we see these designs of apps changing, and they're getting better. But I still like YouTube, for example. While they're fostering some of the most negative communities I've ever seen online, they're trying to do the whole original content thing, and some of it's okay, some of it's not. I may watch one show and be like, okay.
Did you see the new Karate Kid?
I've heard about it. I've heard about
Cobra Kai. That was awesome.
I haven't seen it yet, and I've heard good things. I've heard good things.
I think you have to have the YouTube Red subscription to watch.
I do because I use YouTube. For the studio, I'll post stuff, fun stuff about the studio and, more tutorial stuff. But I use YouTube for, my gaming stuff, right? Because I love watching a lot of the gamers on there. And
see, that's what we use at our house for TV. We got rid of DirecTV, the dish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still in the house, but we don't subscribe to that.
You're streaming totally everything.
And we're streaming everything. We're cord cutters. And so we always had Netflix and we had Hulu, and I was going to have that whether I had DirecTV or not. So I don't count that in the price total.
Sure.
But we went from paying, what was DirecTV? We were paying like $110 a month down to 35 because I got in with the first deal.
Yeah.
So we're at the lowest price that you can get it at.
Yeah.
And it's got everything I want, and except for a couple of channels that I was watching on DirecTV, but I don't miss them now that they're not
Yeah.
there. And if I really wanted them, there's a service called Philo TV that if you get YouTube TV and Philo TV, put them together, it's 35 or now 40. I think maybe it's going up to 45 soon for YouTube TV. And then Philo TV you can get for $16 a month and adds those, like some of these home channel, like the cooking channel, and
Yeah.
we
Sure.
actually I'm not a chef, but I don't know, for some reason I like watching those shows.
Yeah.
But and so you put those two together and it's still cheap. It's still less than half of what I was paying.
But
Plus,
That's what I was going
but
to
I
ask.
I
think
don't
that-
have to mess with the ridiculous,
The customer service.
horrible AT&T.
Oh, their
most
customer service is
miserable.
horrible.
Yeah.
And but see, you're a tech driven guy, and I think like even with my wife, we switched. We used to have a Roku in our house, and then I switched to the Xbox One S because it's got 4K output. Right, I bought a 4K TV a couple of years ago, and I wanted to have 4K for Netflix. And I have found, for me anyway, I really enjoy the streaming apps on the Xbox One S. I like Roku because it's easier for my wife to use. I think my wife would say like it's just faster for her.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
Xbox with the 4K features, and there's a little bit more like things I can do with it. I found that to be a great device. We still have our Apple TV. Like we'll still use the Apple TV every once in a while. But I like the Xbox with the OS. What they've done with it is actually really good because you can mix live TV or your HD antenna if you want to. You can mix it in with all the other apps, and it makes it feel more seamless.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a disconnect. But I don't know, TV, man, like I honestly thought it was going to be like revolutionary,
Yeah.
right? And it hasn't been that.
That's coming. I think there's going to be a day. There's got to be a tipping point. I don't know what'll happen that makes it happen. You were talking about the guy who was uploading all his songs. I mean, the piracy of music. They finally said we're losing our lunch in piracy. We got to figure out some way to embrace this.
It decimated.
And so they had to.
Decimated the industry.
So iTunes at $1 a song, and then now that's getting killed by
Streaming.
Spotify.
yeah,
and-
iTunes will be done.
Yeah.
iTunes will be done. Like it's
Apple Music.
But
Yeah, it'll all be
something
streaming.
like that is going to happen. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not.
There's
Smart
going to be
enough
a
figure that out.
disruptor. There'll be a
Yeah.
disruptor. Like it'll be something that disrupts it.
Someone's going to come along with a big enough bag of cash for the Hollywood studios, and they're going to say, "Oh, we just can't pass this
it's
up."
like Movie
Yeah.
Pass. I used to like Movie Pass, right?
I love
do you know-
how I used to feel about
Do
it.
you know Movie Pass? Have you tried Movie Pass
I have
yet, Jimmy?
not, no.
Okay, so I bought Movie Pass for a year for like $86. Like they had some deal. $86.
Oh, I'm sorry.
At the time, you can pay you can watch however many movies you wanted in a month. As many times if I wanted to watch the Avengers over and over and over, I could. There was no limit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
2 months after I paid whatever the $86, I get an email from them, and I notice I followed them on Twitter. They totally changed the terms of service. Now listen to this. They now I can't watch a movie. I can only watch a movie once. Period. They
So
took that
it
away.
keeps track of that.
Yes.
Great.
And you have to upload your stub. At that, it won't let you move on in the app unless you upload a picture of the stub. Okay.
Oh Lord.
And they're limiting it even more. And I just read an article yesterday, which I have to be careful of the source of the article because
Isn't
I'm
that
hesitant.
a movie theater?
But they're saying that what they're trying to do is just get tons of users, right, and then strong arm the movie studios into helping them. But what happened is people were taking advantage of the deal, right? Listen, the American public will figure out a way to hack anything, and I mean they have it. I feel like I wasted my money. Because now, I mean, I go to the movies. I was going to the movies maybe once or twice a month. And with Movie Pass, I was maybe going 4 times a month. So I was buying a little bit more popcorn, whatever. And like the new Johnny Knoxville movie's coming out in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go see that. I love that guy. There's something about people getting hit in the cods that makes me laugh. But every time I watch his movies, my chest hurts from laughing so much. It's
Really highbrow discussion here.
I get it. But anyway, I'm going to be robbed of watching that movie multiple times.
Yeah,
right?
you will. And that's the sad thing.
And
about
so
that.
I paid for one thing. I paid for unlimited whatever, and
Yeah.
they changed it.
Yeah,
and
'cause
they
what-
have the power to do that
Yeah.
without my permission.
Right. What we would do is there'd be a movie that my wife would be like, I don't know if I want to see that. And I said, well, the boys and I'll go. Or one of them who was home at the time. And we'd go, and then she'd say, how was it? And I'd say, oh, it was great. I think you would like it. Because I know what kind she likes. Oh, you'd love it. So the next day, or maybe a few days later, we'd all go. Because you could go see it again. Well, I don't have that experience anymore.
Yeah, it's gone,
Right,
and they
right.
took it, and that's the problem. Like,
And the thing is, I know there were people that were cheating the system, and so they were buying the ticket and then selling it to their
they
buddy.
were selling it.
And they could do that. Well, I've already seen it, so I'll sell it to him, or her. And so that's why the upload. I got hit with that for the first time. We went to see, what was it? What was the big movie that came out last weekend?
Oh, wait. It wasn't Deadpool. I don't think you would go see
Yeah.
Deadpool 2. Did you go
Actually,
see
I did
Deadpool
go see
2?
Deadpool 2.
Wow!
It was my youngest son really desperately
love
wanted to
you.
go
Dr.
see it.
Pastor, not
I
Reverend.
love you because the last 30 minutes of that movie, I was crying in
Can
tears.
we delete what I just said? I don't think that really happened. No, I'm teasing.
I have so much more respect for you because I
it's-
was in tears the last
oh,
30
it's
minutes. I don't want to
filthy.
give any spoilers, but that movie, oh my God, it makes me blush. It was so filthy.
Yeah, it really was terrible. I shouldn't have gone. But anyway, I did. But I had to upload
Hey,
the
if it
thing.
makes you feel better, I saw a very prominent Southern gospel singer in the area. He was in the movie with me. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
And when he walked in, I was like, what's he doing here? I started giggling. Okay, go ahead.
But the thing was, that was the first time I got hit with that upload thing.
Yeah,
But there's a whole other story if you want to get into what happened with that. That was a mess. We
I
were
think
in,
we're going to run out of time. But
we
that's
were in
okay.
Hickory. We went to the AMC theater in Hickory, and you know how AMC and Movie Pass are having a cow with
Yes,
each other.
yes.
And so the app let me buy the ticket. I went to the 1:30 showing. The app let me buy the ticket, and so I came and I handed him my Movie Pass card, and the guy at the counter said, "You can't use that here."
Oh,
I said, "Wait a minute, what? I've used this here before." No, it's not a supported showing. I said, "Yes, it is. It let me buy the if it's not supported, it won't let me buy it. You can't see 3D or the big D is what they call it.
Yes,
There.
The
That
AMC,
sounds something very
and,
different to
and
me,
apparently
but-
the AMC. Hey man, there's a church that meets there. I love that church, but it's hilarious. They
Yeah.
meet the Big D.
We
Okay.
made it the big D. Anyway, so you have this in the app, it grays it out, so you can't buy it.
Yeah.
You can't even buy the ticket.
So you lost. You lost out on the
And
movie.
so I was like, "What are you talking about? I can't buy it. I mean, what?" And they said, "No, it's not supported." And I said, "It let me do it.
Yeah.
You're the one, AMC. You're the one stopping me, not Movie Pass. You are."
yeah.
He said, "Sorry, you can't do it." So we had to wait an hour to go to the next one that was in the regular theater, which I honestly didn't care. I thought I was buying a
would've
ticket
just-
for the regular theater.
If they would have just said something, but that's another example though. Like it's just it's not going to be a positive thing because
No.
I mean I'll get my money's back. I already have. I've got my money's worth because we've been going to a couple of movies, but listen, Jimmy, do you have some questions?
I do. It's
for-
bombs away
for
time.
Reverend Pastor Kevin, Doctor.
Okay, every guest gets 3 questions,
Okay.
and the last of the 3 is always the same. You probably know this.
I've been preparing for this.
Okay, great. So, question number 1. What is, in your opinion, the one most revolutionary piece of tech for the progressive movement of the modern day church?
Wow.
Wow, that's a crazy question.
Whether that's a traditional church, it doesn't have to be like a
Say it
specific
again.
type.
Say it again. You
So,
worded that kind of.
Yeah, what's the one piece of equipment that's probably the most revolutionary in terms of progressing the modern day church?
The projector.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that has changed church more in the last 20 years than anything else.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. That's an A plus.
Quick.
That was.
Well, he does have a lot of education, Jimmy.
He does. He
He's
does.
smarter than us.
He's a
We better be
doctor.
careful.
That's probably not true.
Number 2, what would you say to those who are outside the church in terms of why some churches stay less tech savvy?
Oh gosh, that's a big question. There's too many answers. One answer is money. Some churches
Sure.
just can't afford to go
Yep.
technology. They've got what they have. They paid for it. Why do we have to buy new stuff?
Right.
It's working. Okay, so they don't see the value or the need for it. I think for some it's a philosophical thing. We don't want to get too much like the world, you know.
Okay.
And there's that attitude of if I compromise, and they think compromise. Like, I don't believe in compromising. There are certain issues that I disagree with. I mean, we can get into theology if you want about
we're
those.
not gonna do that.
but there are certain theological ideas that I'm not going to compromise ever,
Yeah, sure.
as long as I'm able to hold back. And if I'm not, I'll just quit because
Yeah.
I believe so strongly about some of these things. But things like what tool you use to share that message is not that.
You're right.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
awesome.
if we did that, we would still be opening a big scroll
It's like-
in order to read.
It's like
the
everybody
Bible.
rejecting
Right.
the hammer. Oh, we can't use this hammer.
Yeah.
No, we've been using rocks.
Well, like churches today say the same thing about modern instruments that they said about the organ
Yeah,
Correct.
I never
back
thought of that.
in
but
whatever
you're right.
year
You're
it
right.
was.
Whatever transition year that was.
And by the way, they said the same thing about the piano before they existed.
Yeah.
So every generation, not every generation, but every time there's a big sea change in this kind of thing, the previous generation say, "I can't have that here. That's evil.
Yeah.
That's from the pit of hell." And
Generational
Satan
thing.
has inspired that, and
Well-
it's sad because again, we said that we've made an idol out of music.
Yeah.
We've also made an idol out of whether you're on the traditional side, out of the organ and the piano, or I hate to say it, but we've made an idol out of you got to have a band. And if
Well
you don't
said.
have a band,
That's
you're
right.
not going to
That's
be able
well
to
said.
Yeah.
reach young
That's
people.
well said. Well said.
Young people, they don't care about whether you have a band. They care about whether you care about them when you love them and you're genuine. Now, if they could have their druthers, as people around here say, they'd say, "Yeah, I'd rather
Yeah.
have that modern style of music that I listen to on my,
Gotcha.
my phone." But
Yeah.
Listen, Post Malone. Do you know who Post Malone is?
who?
Post Malone.
Post Malone? No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay, if you Google him, it will change your life.
Okay.
All you really need to know is that Tori.
He was on the
Tori
list.
cries
Post
about
Malone. Post Malone is on the no list. And then, every once in a while, I'll send out messages in our group text with our family. I'm like, okay, this certain rap artist is a no go. Like Lil Xan, don't look up Lil Xan. Forget Lil Xan. Post Malone made that
As
list.
a matter of fact, we did not even say Lil
Exactly.
Xan.
I'm going to edit that.
I've heard of rap stars.
Okay, so anyway,
Can't
Post
really
Malone,
name five.
Post
but-
Malone would be somebody your young people would know about, and it turns out my kids are already listening to him. I'm warming up to him. Like I saw him do a live performance on Seth Rogen's show
yeah.
on Netflix. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm getting this. He still looks like a psycho from 1950, but whatever. Hey, do you have the taco questions? for
Wait,
me?
one quick question.
Yeah,
There's
go.
a rap group that I used to love, and I bet you might know who
All
they
right.
are. Have you ever heard of Transformation Crusade?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they
Old
were
school
great,
Christian
weren't
rap. Old school
they?
Christian
They were
rap.
great.
I think I knew the
loved them. Anyway,
producer. I think it was Todd Collins. Okay, go ahead.
let's talk tacos.
We're gonna double check that, fact check that.
Yeah, fact check.
Okay, last one. What's your favorite taco and where is it from?
Well, I'm not a big taco guy.
Yeah, come
I'm
to think of
sorry.
it, I don't think I've ever seen you have a taco.
I've eaten tacos, but after listening to you guys, I'm terribly embarrassed by what would have been my answer if I hadn't listened to you guys before.
You're not gonna
Well,
be-
what's your knee-jerk
we're
reaction
not gonna
prior
judge
to
you.
listening
We're
to
not
this?
gonna judge you.
I mean, I like Taco Bell. I mean, I think you
There's
guys are
nothing wrong
going to
with
kill
that.
me for that, but
No.
I like Taco Bell. I love those Doritos tacos. But
My son loves them.
they're not real tacos, I understand. But if I'm going to get like genuine Mexican food around here,
Yeah.
I'm going to probably go to El Portal over by the Walmart.
Oh yeah,
Because
Taco Bell.
every Sunday night, you'll find our church, about 6 to 10 of us were
Go
in
to
El
El Portal.
Portal. And I don't ever get tacos. I always get chimichangas or...
Dude, Taco Bell though has turned up their game. Like,
Dude, they have like
immensely.
this. Okay, I saw a commercial
sorry.
last night. I don't have TV, so when I go pick up my dog from my parents' house, that's another story. Then I see TV then.
Yeah.
Okay. And they had this new taco. The shell is actually like a foldable piece of chicken.
Yeah.
I tried to order that last week, and it took them like 10 minutes, and they never served me my food. And I asked for a refund, and the dude had 200 keys on this keychain, and he was trying to get the refund, and I felt so bad for him because I couldn't wait. I wasn't trying to be rude. I said, dude, don't worry about it. I just have to go. He's like, but I got to get you your money back. I'm like, I don't have time, but that's what I ordered.
Yeah.
The chicken chalupa, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
Have you
it's
had
okay.
the tacos at Las Salsas?
Yes. I like. We just
They're
went to
pretty
Las
good.
Salsas.
They're pretty- I like
I
them.
just think. I think
That's just not my favorite restaurant.
we're spoiled here because I think we have fantastic Hispanic food here. But
I know I was supposed to say mountain burrito, but
it's okay.
No,
you go to
no,
Mountain
no,
Burrito.
no,
We go to
there's
Mountain
not-
Burrito all
hey,
the
there's
time.
no
I
pressure
like
here.
Mountain Burrito, but you know what? I told you this the last time I saw you at Mountain Burrito. You know what changed my whole attitude about Mountain Burrito?
Wait, are you the one that was complaining about the mushrooms?
Mushrooms.
Oh, Brian's gonna
Bring
die.
back
Brian
the
Drake,
mushrooms.
Brian Drake is gonna listen to this and freak out. Brian, do not freak out. We love you.
Yeah, man.
He just really likes the mushrooms, man.
He wants the
I love
mushrooms.
mushrooms.
It's not negative. It's
Honestly,
not like,
my wife and I quit going to Mountain Burrito when they quit having mushrooms.
Oh my God.
man.
I'm gonna have to-
one
I'm gonna have to
fungus.
warn Brian. I'm gonna have to warn Brian about this. See, they're doing
gotta tell
zucchini
me.
and squash right now, and I'm not eating meat for lunch for the summer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lay off meat, so I get the zucchini squash and stuff, and it's one of my favorite
Kicking,
things.
man.
It's good, but
That's been bombs away.
Kevin,
Amen.
love you, dude.
Love you too, man.
I appreciate what you're doing in our community. I think it's really important to let people know about what you're doing, even though you're a Packers fan, right? Well,
No, I am a Packers owner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I'm a part owner of the Green Bay Packers.
They do that. I forgot they
yeah,
do
they
that.
do.
Yeah, they
It's
do.
the
They-
only community-owned team in the NFL.
That's awesome.
Or in professional sports.
That's
let's,
cool.
Let's just throw this out there, okay, as a last thought.
By the way, I don't get anything from that.
no,
It's still cool though.
But
I
this
get
is,
to go
this
to
is
the-
the kind of guy you want pastoring your church because he's got so much, like, just belief in
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
he becomes an owner to a football team.
That's
That
pretty
means
cool.
I gave them $250 for a piece of paper.
Hey, that's pretty
all
cool
it
though,
means.
man. If the Dolphins let me do that, you better believe I would do that.
There's a special shop that I can go in and buy stuff that's overpriced. And it has little
The
things
Packers.
saying, and you can actually get specialized stuff with your owner number on
So,
it.
Kevin, if our
is cool.
audience
Anyway.
has to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of
Let me say the easiest way is just go to kp.ly. That's my website. The simplest, most memorable. It's kevinpurcell.org
you? And you have Twitter, you have
is
all
the
that
main
stuff.
domain. K.A. Purcell on Twitter. And if you want to watch our church, it's facebook.com/High Peak Church.
Awesome. So, if you're in the area and your leanings are towards the more traditional side of things, I think this is the place you guys need to go visit.
If you want to get loved on,
Yeah,
come to
man.
High Peak,
I think we'll try
off
and-
Exit 107.
I need to figure out a Sunday I can come by and chill out.
You would be well.